I actually at first had someone who knew about layout the book, and she actually did a lot of initial comic selection. And I went through and I was sort of adding my notes, like, oh, let's check out this one. I'd like to put in this one, and I went back. And then the more I sort of looked at the layout that she had done, which was nicely laid out, the more I felt like I wanted control over everything. And so I went and so I just went back and read through the entire archives of XKCD, which I had not done in a long time. And then, like so many other readers, I got most of the way to the end, and then discovered, oh right, there's title text. And I have to go and read through them all over again, moving the mouse over each one to see that extra note about the comic. So I went through and selected comics that the ones that I wanted to include. And then I went through and now I'm sure that there are proper ways to do this. Other people I've talked to also said, I'm sure there are proper ways to do it, but I didn't do it those ways, so you don't want to do what I did. So I feel the same way. I didn't do this the right way, so you don't want to do it the way that I did. But it did end up working, which is I made a Photoshop file for every page. And I have to go through and do each page. I might as well, do that. So and in the Photoshop file, they're all the same size. They have little, margins to mark where the edges of the pages are going to be and stuff like that. And I just shuffled the comics around, wrote all of the commentary here. There was a book, there was a Dilbert book that gave me some of the idea of the style of his commentary. It was called 7 Years of Highly Defective People, where Scott Adams wrote commentary in the margins of the Dilbert books using a red pen, which I thought looked really cool. So I sort of took that idea for this. And I always sort of wondered that when I was reading, did he actually have a copy of the book that he was writing in the margins of, which he would then mail back to the printer, who would then scan it back in. So what I actually did here is I just had a giant sheet of paper, and I went through it. I was like, page this, and wrote what I was going to put there. And so there are these pages that are just all of the marginal notes for XKCD, Volume 0. And then I went in Photoshop and went through and fit them all in and colored them red. And then I sent that over to someone who knew more about the printing process, because all of those Photoshop files made it a PDF, and then they printed off the book and sent it to us. And there were so many delays in this process that was happening, like, we were seeing these things like a week before they finally, went out for good. And like I only got to see the book with the cover on it, basically as part of the crates that were being shipped to bookstores. So I just, we had faith the cover was going to work out right, and it did. But it was only after seeing the final book, flipping through, like the first page I opened to, there was something that there was a little bit of a mistake, or these will bug me forever, but this happens with like when I was going back through the archives, I found so many mistakes in the comics that I hadn't realized were there. And there are a lot of these in the book too. I just found this one, not to put you off this book, which, but if anyone's noticed on page 10100, there's at the very top, there's actually a missing section in one of the panels. And I don't know how this got through quality control. Possibly a traditional publisher would have had someone do that. But this was a lot of fun. Getting the page numbers right alone was the task of a day or two. I wanted page numbers that people would look at and say, oh, binary page numbers, how easy, and then they'd flip a few pages more, and then there's a 2. That's not binary. And then, oh, it must be ternary. And then the people, I think he used base 3, very clever. And then they'd go and I assume they do this. I'm imagining. They say, let's see if he really did base 3. And then they start counting, okay, 1, 2, 10, 11, 12, that's good. 20, 100. That's not ternary. It's not ternary either. If there are any functional programs in the audience who are obsessed with proving, correctness, they might recognize the numbering system used for the page numbers. So, I think that I'll be able to sign your books and talk to you individually, but does anyone have any questions about the book or about the comic or about anything related? Or